You're listening to the Digest This podcast, and I'm your host, Bethany Cameron. This is the biohack that I feel everyone could benefit, whether you are carnivore, keto, vegan, paleo, or maybe you don't even follow a specific diet. Today, we're diving deep into some topics that are near and dear to my heart, which is mitochondria health, brain health, and of course, the gut microbiome and digestion. To help us with that, I'm welcoming Catharine Arnston, the founder and CEO of Energy Bits. This stuff is algae. And I know people may think algae is a little foreign, but it's been around for ages, spirulina and chlorella specifically. And we dive deep into the differences between spirulina and chlorella, microalgae versus macroalgae, but most importantly, the benefits that these energy bits can have on the body, including heavy metal detoxing, brain health, dementia, no gas. I mean, we could go on and on. I feel like we could have talked for another hour. There's so many benefits to these little bits. And I think every single person listening can benefit. So without further ado, let's get right into the episode. Oh, and don't forget to listen to the very end because Catharine has a discount code for these energy bits that she's offering just to my listeners. So if you want to try them, we do have a discount code. So listen to the end. I've also included it in today's show notes so you can check them out. Okay, Catharine, thank you so much for coming on. I know you had sent me some of your energy bits prior to the interview, and I have been loving them. And a lot of people ask me about spirulina and chlorella, and I really want to dive into the benefits because there's so many. But before we even do that, you know the drill. I like to start my podcast with rapid fire yes or no questions. I only have 3 here, and you can only answer yes or no.
Okay.
All right, first question. Is spirulina the same as chlorella?
No. That's a hard no.
All right, can spirulina remove heavy metals from the body?
That's a no.
Okay.
It's cleansing, but not a chelator.
Okay, I want to get into that.
It's more of I know I'm only allowed one word. Sorry about that.
You're fine. Okay, last question. Does chlorella contain all 9 essential amino acids to make a complete protein?
Yes, they both do. I snuck in.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so that's a very misconception that they don't contain all 9 essential amino acids. So first of all, Catharine, again, welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell my listeners who you are and what you do?
Yes, my name is Catharine Arnston. I'm the founder and CEO of Energy Bits, energybits.com if you're near a website. And I fell into the world, we sell algae tablets, spirulina and chlorella algae tablets. And I fell into this world of algae completely by coincidence. I am actually Canadian, have an MBA, was doing international business, nothing to do with nutrition. And 17 years ago, my younger sister, who I'm very close to, developed breast cancer in Canada. She's completely healed, but so I want to assure everyone there's a happy ending to the story. But as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, so not just her neighbor or her yoga instructor, someone who's very well trained in cancer, told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would be important for her healing. Didn't tell her what it was or why specifically it was good for her. So my baby sister called me because I love her and I'm a good researcher. In fact, I recently got my PhD in natural health. So it turns out an alkaline diet is a plant-based diet because of the chlorophyll and the phytonutrients that build your immune system. And also it turns out that cancer cannot exist in cells that are slightly alkaline. So she went through chemo, she completely healed, she changed her diet. I went on to learn more about plant-based nutrition, which led me to algae, which is the most alkaline, nutrient-dense plant in the universe, endorsed by international agencies, by like the United Nations and NASA, used for 60 years in Asia, where it's grown as an agricultural crop. Yes, algae is not a supplement. It is an agricultural crop grown in fresh water. And there are 100,000 studies documenting all the health benefits. We're going to talk about some of them today. Seemed the only thing wrong with algae was that nobody outside of Asia knew about its health benefits. and that the quality of it that was sold in America and outside of Asia was not very good. So I decided I was going, and because it comes in tiny tablets that you can swallow or chew, which are effortless, you can get the nutrition that you need effortlessly in seconds, and you can pull all those crappy toxins and glyphosate and metals out in seconds. So I wanted to make sure it was possible for everyone outside of Asia to enjoy the benefits as well. So that's when I started Energy Bits, which was 15 years ago. And we've grown into a global brand and are helping people with their health, regaining their health, protecting their health every single day. So it makes me very happy.
Well, amazing. And I'm so glad to know that she's cancer-free. And I think a lot of people think of weird growing stuff under the sea when they think of algae and all of that. But I personally love these tablets and I chew them. I know you can just swallow them, but I love the taste, but you don't have to. But I want to go into, first of all, like cover the basics here. So what is microalgae versus macroalgae?
Yes, yes. And I'm going to first just quickly touch on your first question about people thinking algae is that scummy stuff. And it is that. Algae is everywhere. And we're going to talk about the two types, macro and microalgae right now, but it's the cleanup crew. So when it closes your favorite beach, it's actually helping you. It's Mother Nature's cleanup crew because algae absorbs toxins and kills bacteria. It does it on the beach and it does it in your body too, which is so please don't blame algae for closing your beach. It's just there to protect you and look after you. So there's two main types of algae. So it's a food category in its own right. The macroalgae, we're not going to talk much about today, but I'm going to tell you what it is. It's that stringy stuff that washes up on shore, also known as seaweed. And it's called seaweed because it's only in the sea. Now, it's still good for you because it has lots of fiber and iodine because it's from the sea, but it has virtually zero nutrition. So high fiber, zero nutrition, but still good for you. Microalgae is completely opposite, and that's what we're talking about today. And there's tens of thousands of strains of microalgae. It's called microalgae, by the way, because it's microscopic in size. You can't see it with your eye. Someone has told, I read somewhere that you could get 1 million of these microalgae on the head of a pin. That's how tiny they are. Now, they're everywhere, not like just the macroalgae, which is only in the ocean. Microalgae is in the ocean, but it's also in the rivers, the lakes, the streams, the soil, your swimming pool, your aquarium, and it's harvested as a food crop in Asia. I plan to grow it here in Florida, but that's a longer story. It's grown in fresh water, which is known as hydroponic. Lots of vegetables are grown hydroponically, lettuce, tomatoes. So spirulina and chlorella are the two microalgae we're going to talk about today. They are grown hydroponically. They're not from the ocean. Yes, there is algae in the ocean, but that's not what we sell. And even if you go to Target or Whole Foods, spirulina and chlorella tend to be grown in freshwater ponds. So within microalgae, which is this concentrated nutrition algae, it has the most, in fact, the concentrated nutrition is endorsed by international agencies like NASA. NASA says 1 gram of microalgae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of vegetables. So we sell our algae in these large bags of 1,000 tablets. I did the math and figured out that 1 bag of these 1,000 tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. To put that in better context for you, that's 30 grocery carts of food in this 1 bag of algae tablets. So you start to see how efficient it is, how much easier it is for you, for your daily activities. So microalgae, high nutrition compared to macroalgae, virtually no nutrition. Microalgae also either has no fiber or very little fiber compared to macroalgae, which is all fiber. So of the two differences, spirulina has no fiber because, drum roll, it's actually a bacteria. It has no cellulose wall. And the reason why that's important to know is because there's nothing for your body to break down to get access to the nutrients. And we'll talk about the different algae, what they do differently in your body and why you really need both. Chlorella, which is a green algae. Oh, by the way, spirulina is called a blue-green algae because it has two pigments. It has the green one everyone's familiar with, chlorophyll, but it has a second pigment, which is called phycocyanin, which is spelled with a P-H-Y, P-H-Y-C-O-C-Y-N-I-N. I think I spelled it right. Anyways, that phycocyanin doesn't exist anywhere else in nature, only in spirulina. And it's blue. It's a beautiful blue color. By the way, that blue pigment has been proven to kill cancer cells. The chemotherapy companies even use it in their treatments, and I can tell you why later on. So spirulina, blue-green algae, is a bacteria with no cellulose wall. Chlorella is a green algae, and it belongs to the plant kingdom. And in fact, it has the hardest cell wall in the plant kingdom, and it's that hard fibrous cell wall that attaches to heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticides, mold spores, alcohol, lactic acid, and chelates them. So back to the comparison, macroalgae only in the sea, high fiber, no nutrition. Microalgae everywhere, tens of thousands of strains. The two that are most popular, that are harvested as food crops in fresh water, are spirulina, a blue-green algae, and chlorella, a green algae.
Well, I love this detailed explanation. Thank you so much, Catherine. And
yeah, I'm a detail person. I don't know, it's crazy.
it's good. I love getting into the science of things. And I love that you say that it doesn't have a lot of fiber, or if any, because a lot of my listeners, including myself, I tend to stay away from fiber or eat a low fiber diet because a lot of people get gas and bloating and can't digest the fiber.
Yeah, I do too. This is why you can give it to babies, because if you put spirulina in a bottle with water, they can take it. In fact, it's the only thing that keeps the babies alive in Japan if they're preemies and can't digest mother's breast milk. And also, as you get older, you have fewer digestive enzymes. A lot of our grandparents are not eating well, or they mushy white stuff, and they're not getting nutrition. Spirulina will fill all nutritional gaps. That's how I help people understand the differences of them. Spirulina is putting nutrition in, and chlorella is pulling toxins out. So one is in, the other is out. And we'll talk about the difference in a minute. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I think too, because a lot of my listeners with IBS or digestive issues, they tend to not eat a lot of vegetables, including myself. There's a few, right? But I just don't eat a lot of greens. I'll eat maybe some carrots or things, but that's all steamed and it's very few and far between. So a lot of people are asking, well, what do you get in for greens? Because I just can't digest them. And so I think this could be a really, really good option, especially since the comparison between vegetables and these little tiny tablets, which you could chew or swallow. Now, I also want to talk about what it actually contains, right? It contains vitamin E, zinc, copper. Give us the details on that.
Yeah. And just to give you another analogy, each tablet, whether it's spirulina or chlorella, they're both extraordinarily nutrient dense. Spirulina has the highest protein and the higher protein than chlorella. And chlorella has the higher chlorophyll, and I'll explain the importance of that. But both of them have over 40 vitamins and minerals. All of the electrolytes, so it's all the magnesium, potassium, I don't have the list in front of me. All the B vitamins. B vitamins are what give you energy. Iron, vitamin A, very high vitamin A in the beta carotene stage. So very, very nutrient dense. This is why, in fact, the United Nations has endorsed spirulina algae for 50 years as the answer to world hunger, because it has 3 times the amount of protein as steak. There is nothing in the world with more protein than spirulina. It's 64% protein. Chlorella is 60, so it's still pretty high, but spirulina is known for having the highest. Now, they do have slightly different nutrient profiles. And while we're talking about protein, let me point out that they have 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 your body can't make, and that's both of them. But spirulina is the one that gives you energy. Spirulina is the one that you take for brain health, for satisfying your hunger, because it also has a lot of essential fatty acids, which are essential for your brain and also for satiety. So if anyone's on a GLP-1, please take spirulina, because it will preserve your muscle mass, and keep you're hungry when you're on a GLP-1, but it will keep your cells nourished with all the critical nutrients that they need. Now, most people are hungry and tired in the morning when they get up and throughout the day. So that's why most people take spirulina, which we call energy bits, because that's when they want to be have some their hunger satisfied, or they need some focus for work or for working out. So it's a pre-workout as well. Now, quantity-wise, 10 tablets will be an entry, sort of a starter amount. But if you are trying to correct a health condition, we encourage you to take closer to 20 or 30. Now, it sounds like a lot, but let me tell you, because unfortunately we're not visual, they're about the size of a baby aspirin. Think of them as a green baby aspirin. And I chew mine, as Bethany pointed out, she chews hers. I will mention that the spirulina is very chewy because it has all that heavy protein and essential fatty acids. So I will admit most people do swallow it, but you can also grind it up and put it into a smoothie. Kids love them because both of them turn their tongues green, and they think that's so funny. So if you mums with children, please give them the same amount as their age, or half if you don't want to give them that much. So if they're 4, give them 2 to 4. If they're 6, give them 3 to 6 a day. It's food. It's very nourishing, whole food. It's a foundational food. There's only one ingredient, no pesticides, no chemicals, no caffeine, no sugar, no gluten. It's on the no list for sure. But that's when you generally would take the spirulina in the morning, afternoon, for lunch. You could take 30 for lunch. You wouldn't be hungry for 3 hours. I do intermittent fasting. They're ketogenic. They don't break a fast. And then I'm kind of focusing on one meal a day. By the way, I'm one of those FODMAP people. Anybody who knows that is FODMAP means there's certain polysaccharides that your body just can't digest, and so they ferment in your stomach and cause gas, and a lot of cruciferous vegetables are that way. There's a lot of fruit. I can't eat apples. There's like 1 or 2 fruit I can eat. So this fills for me all of these health nutritional gaps that I have as well, because I have this FODMAP requirement. And the only supplement I take is vitamin C, because I don't eat a lot of fruit because of the FODMAP situation. So when you take spirulina every day, which is food, you can eliminate a multivitamin, CoQ10, biotin, collagen powder. There's more collagen than collagen powder. It will replace lots of your protein. You will save money and time. It's that incredible. So very, very nourishing.
So I think people's minds are probably blown by this time in the podcast. Now, I know you talked about a lot of what is in spirulina, and before we even get to the health benefits, because I want to talk about removing toxins, but what isn't in spirulina? Because a lot of supplements, a lot of things have fillers and gums and things like that. So what are these tablets made of?
Just 100% spirulina and 100% chlorella. And we do third-party lab tests here in the United States. We have three different labs we work with that test for nutritionals, for toxins, for heavy metals. We do another set that measure for specialty nutrients like superoxide dismutase that protects your mitochondria from free radical damage. So it's very much a important longevity antioxidant. And then we also test for microtoxins, which of course we never have any because it's grown in fresh water. So there is no caffeine, no fillers, no carbs, 0 carbs.
So the powder is just pressed into a little tablet. There's nothing holding it together, or no capsule over it.
Nothing. Absolutely flat out nothing. It's as close to, it is 100% nutrition. This is the way food is supposed to be. Clean, one ingredient, no toxins, effortless if you swallow it, but you can grind it up and put it in a smoothie if you want. As I mentioned, I chew mine. They taste delicious with sea salt on them. I add them I eat them with pistachio nuts or macadamia nuts.
Oh, that's a great idea. Just toss them into like a trail mix, and mix them in.
I want to mention one more thing. What's not in there are lectins and oxalates. A lot of people get autoimmune diseases because of lectins and oxalates, which are very sharp proteins found in certain vegetables like spinach and kale and almonds. Now, these plants developed lectins and oxalates to protect themselves from predators like bugs and animals, because they do the same thing. They upset the animals' tummies too. But algae came from the ocean. It's not a land plant. So it's never had to develop lectins or oxalates to protect itself. So if you're paleo or carnivore, or you just are sensitive to lectins and oxalates, algae is your answer. You will never have to eat another vegetable again. Maybe you aren't eating them now. But this is one of the great advantages of algae. This is why Dr. Gundry has had me on his podcast 3 times, because he's written a book called The Plant Paradox. So how plants can be good for you, but they can also have what's called anti-nutrients that can be damaging. And
Oh yes, we're very familiar with lectins here. So I know you had mentioned carnivore, and I would say carnivore is literally just the meat. But if someone is carnivore, because that's really hot right now, maybe they could quote cheat and get some of the nutrients in this because of, obviously they're not eating vegetables.
yeah, well, it's not even a cheat. Please, carnivores, this is not, as I mentioned, spirulina is not even a plant. It has 0 fiber. It's a bacteria. And there's nutrients in here that you want. And we'll talk about chlorella in a minute, but chlorophyll is a critical nutrient. And it's the same, has the same chemical composition of your hemoglobin. This is why chlorella is so nourishing, because it builds your blood and does all those other great things like pulls up toxins. But our food doesn't have chlorophyll in it anymore. My arugula goes yellow after day 3 because the soils are so damaged. There's not enough minerals for the plants to pull up, so they don't have nutrients or chlorophyll. The chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula and 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. It's called chlorella because of the chlorophyll.
Okay, so let's talk about detoxing, because how can it help eliminate heavy metals specifically?
Well, 3 things. So it has that heavy hard cell wall, which does attach to toxins. It's a really interesting capability, even though there's a doctor by the name of Dr. Klinghardt. He's a German physician, and he's been promoting chlorella, oh gosh, since the 30s or 40s, I think. Anyways, it's known for being a chelator, which means it attaches to heavy metals. That's everything: lead, mercury, radiation. If you're taking vaccines, please take chlorella before the vaccine and after the vaccine, because it will pull out the metals like aluminum that are in the vaccine. It also attaches to glyphosate, pesticides, mold spores, microplastics, anything that your body that shouldn't be in your body, alcohol, lactic acid. It's remarkable. So that's number 1, how it removes the toxins. Now, just like spirulina, you could start by taking just 10 chlorella tablets a day to get the chlorophyll and the immune support. But for detox purposes, you do need closer to the 30 tablets. And I know it sounds like a lot, but here's the good news. Chlorella tablets, which we call recovery bits, taste pretty good. They taste more like a sunflower seed or a soy nut. And so when you sprinkle on some sea salt, or you eat them with pistachio nuts or macadamia nuts, they're delicious, and they don't stick to your teeth like the spirulina do, because they're much drier. They don't have as much essential fatty acids, and they don't have the same amount of protein. So it's a great snack, but you can still swallow them if you don't like the taste. So number 1, that hard cell wall attaches to all these pesticides and heavy metals. Number 2, chlorella, and to a lesser degree spirulina, has the highest glutathione in the world. Glutathione is a detoxing antioxidant, particularly for your liver. So very, very important for pulling out any of these toxins out of your bloodstream. It has the highest chlorophyll in the world, which I mentioned already, builds your blood, but it also kills bacteria. Remember, I mentioned that algae shows up in the oceans on your beaches because there's the cleanup crew. And part of what it does is it kills bacteria and absorbs toxins. It does the same thing in your body. So if you eat them, here's the great reason to eat them: it will start killing bacteria in your mouth while you're chewing them, because whatever you swallow, that's going into your body. So the chlorophyll, the high chlorophyll, will kill bacteria. It kills it in your colon as well, which gets me to the next reason why it's so powerful as a detoxing agent, because it stimulates what's known as peristalsis, also just a fancy word for bowel movement. Now, we all know that our body, or maybe we don't, our body eliminates toxins 4 ways: sweat, breath, urine, and bowel movements. So it's really important if you're taking saunas or red light or cold plunges or cryo to take some spirulina before the treatment, so that the chlorophyll and the nutrients can get into your body and nourish it while you're having this treatment. And then afterwards, you take the chlorella. Because when you're doing red light or chemo, or not chemo, cold plunges or sauna, you're helping your body go through a cleanup process, which is called autophagy. It just is cleaning the cell, and there's another process called apoptosis, which is the healthy cell death. The cell goes, oh, I'm not feeling so good, time to get out of here. And so what it does is it breaks into smaller cells, but it eliminates all of the toxins. So you want chlorella to be in your system after any of these treatments to literally mop up any of the toxins that have been released. Also, by the way, if you're on a weight loss program, GLP-1 or not, guess where your body stores your toxins? In your fat. So as you are losing weight, you don't want it will release the toxins. So you need the chlorella to go around and clean them up, because if they doesn't, those toxins simply get reabsorbed and they stay there. So chlorella, again, is your cleanup crew. And when it stimulates bowel movements, it does it very gently. So you've got to get rid of what I call the junk in your trunk, because what's sitting in your colon is stuff your body didn't want. These are the toxins that weren't hospitable, shouldn't have been there in the first place, but were there. So chlorella, and most people, they won't admit it, are constipated, because here's why. We are stressed, we're traveling, we're eating dairy, we're eating too much processed foods, maybe we're not eating enough fiber because it gives us gas. Chlorella solves all of those problems and more. So it's a very gentle way to get a bowel movement. And this is one of the reasons why we recommend chlorella before bed. The other main reason, quite honestly, is because when you are getting your beauty rest, this is when your body goes through a detox and repair cycle. So when you have chlorella in your body, which offers things like a high chlorophyll, and it pulls out toxins, and it has something called chlorella growth factor, which also speeds up your cell growth. It's also helping getting rid of all this, what I call the junk in your trunk. It's like having a shower from the inside, and you don't have to do anything. You're just resting there, getting your deep sleep, getting your restorative cleansing, detoxing. And by the way, chlorella has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin. So it won't make you sleepy, but it will help you get into that deep sleep. So taking chlorella before bed is generally when we recommend it, but you can certainly take it during the day. It helps with digestion. It helps after.
The spirulina we shouldn't, right? Because doesn't that give you energy?
Well, and you can actually take spirulina before bed too, because it gives you what's called cellular energy. It's not a stimulant. Stimulants like caffeine and chemicals speed up molecules, and they what they do is like putting paper on a fire. You get a burst of energy, and then you have a crash. That never happens with spirulina, because the energy you're getting, the energy it generates for you, is at the cellular level. It's called ATP. So it's like putting a log on the fire. Some people actually take spirulina before bed because it balances their blood sugar, because it has so much protein. But generally, we recommend spirulina in the morning, during the day, before a workout, because it has this, because your body will create ATP. It can't store ATP. So whatever you're doing in the moment, where the greatest need is for that energy, that's where it's directed. So, like, for example, we fuel NHL teams, NFL teams. So the hockey players, they have 75 spirulina before a game, because when they're on the ice, it's fast and they're focused and they need lots of energy. So the ATP that's being created for them by the spirulina is directed towards that activity. Now, if you were going to have 10 or 20 spirulina and then watch a Netflix movie, your focus will just be improved. It won't give you physical energy because you're not requiring it at the moment. Saying like you could take it before bed, but we generally suggest you take the chlorella because it still has protein and it has that tryptophan, and it helps you with the bowel movements and the cleansing.
Can you take too much of it? Is there a limit?
I think if you took like I've been taking, I'm not recommending this to people, but I just want you to know how much you could take. I've had probably between the two of them for every day for 15 years, at least 150. So I don't have quite as much now. I'm kind of down to maybe 75-ish.
And you're a pretty petite woman too.
Yes, and so and I don't know if I shared with you, but I turn 70 next year, 70. So I'm proof that this stuff works. I have only millennials working for me. I travel nonstop. I just got my PhD, so my brain is working. So I want women to know that this can help you through perimenopause, menopause, either reduce the symptoms, prevent the symptoms. It will help prevent chronic disease because of the nutrients that are found in spirulina and chlorella that aren't found in any other food, like superoxide dismutase, which you probably aren't familiar with, also known as SOD, but is really critical for preventing chronic diseases. So 10 a day of spirulina, I call it your nutritional insurance. 10, and it's the Energy Bits brand, chlorella, 10 a day, which is called Recovery Bits, is what I call your health insurance. But for therapeutic amounts or for better results, 30 would be the better number to take.
Okay, so you had mentioned menopause. So how does algae balance out women's hormones and ease menopause symptoms?
Yes, wow, great question. So here's the situation, and this is for men and women, and then I'll switch over to the women. So we have been on Earth for 2 million years, and until about 150 years ago, we died at age 30. It's just biologically, our bodies are programmed to prepare us for death shortly after the age of 30. This is why women's estrogen levels drop, because there's apparently no need to have babies when you're going to be not living much longer. This is when melatonin starts dropping. And there's a very important antioxidant that also starts dropping after the age of 30 and really disappears almost completely after the age of 40. And it's this long word that I mentioned earlier called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. Now, just like estrogen and melatonin and lots of other nutrients, we have this stuff called SOD in our bodies from the moment we're born. But because evolutionarily, our nature thinks we're going to stop preparing for death after the age of 30, it slows the production of this SOD. What does this SOD do? Well, your mitochondria are what generate all of your cellular energy. They are essential. Having your mitochondria in your body is like having lights on in a building. In a building, you can't do any work if you don't have any lights. Have you ever tried going to a building and the light switch or the power's off? That's not you can't do anything, right? Well, your mitochondria are the same thing. They keep the lights on in your body, in your brain. They are not just the light bulbs, they are the electricity. And this is for lymphatic system, neurotransmitters, heartbeat, they fuel everything. So ATP, cellular energy, is important. The more mitochondria you have, the more energy you're going to have. The problem is once you hit 30, and certainly as you hit 40 and you're now into perimenopause and menopause, we just have fewer mitochondria, and the few that we have tend to get damaged. Why is this happening? Because this stuff called superoxide dismutase protects the mitochondria from free radical damage, because a byproduct of this stuff called ATP are free radicals. It's just the way it is. And we know that free radicals are damaging. Now, this stuff called superoxide dismutase is kind of like a big golf umbrella, because it doesn't stop the rain of free radicals. But if you've ever been caught in a rainstorm and you had one of those big golf umbrellas, you didn't stop the rain, right? But you stopped getting wet, because those golf umbrellas are huge. So that's what this stuff called superoxide dismutase does. It acts like a big golf umbrella. It does not stop the rain of free radicals, but it prevents them from damaging your mitochondria, because what does it do? It converts the free radicals into harmless water and oxygen. But after the age of 40, that golf umbrella has disappeared and is now the size of a totes city umbrella. And by 45, it's about the size of a cocktail umbrella. So now all those free radicals are hitting your mitochondria and killing them. This is why you have less cellular energy. This is why you get brain fog. This is why you get weight gain. This is why you have fatigue, because there's simply not enough mitochondria left to create the energy that you used to have when you were younger. And then and so it happens to women and men. Now, women get hit twice as hard because estrogen also acts as an antioxidant. So at exactly the same time we are losing our protective umbrella from superoxide dismutase, we are also losing the protection of the estrogen. And this is where it gets very interesting, because women are always known to suffer more from anxiety, depression, migraines, brain fog, dementia, Alzheimer's. And you know why? It's because we, all women, men and women, have the highest mitochondria are in your brain. And so when women are suffering from lack of mitochondria because loss of estrogen and loss of this big Gulf umbrella called superoxide dismutase, the first place where we feel it is in our brain. This is what's causing all of these issues. There's a great book, by the way, if anyone's more interested in this topic. It's called Brain Energy. I'm blanking on his name. He's a psychiatrist at the Harvard Business School, or Harvard Medical School. And it's all about how all brain issues are related to mitochondria damage. So we can turn your lights back on with spirulina because it has the highest concentration of this stuff called superoxide dismutase. We give you back your big Gulf umbrella. And it happens within like 20 minutes. It doesn't take long. We have people with dementia that couldn't turn on the microwave or find their way home. By the next day, their brain was working again.
No, really?
Yep. We have testimonials. It's crazy what this stuff does. Because it turns on, it starts protecting the mitochondria right away, because you can't store ATP. So it speeds up the production of the cellular energy, which goes directly where it needs, and it starts protecting the mitochondria. And it's all science-based. There's actually 25,000 studies proving that superoxide dismutase helps prevent heart disease, cancer, dementia, inflammation. I mean, 25,000 is a big number. But the scientists don't know you can get it in spirulina if it's raw, because if it's been exposed to high heat, it deactivates the antioxidant, because it's also an enzyme.
Okay, so if someone goes and just gets some random spirulina on Amazon, do you think that it may not be raw?
I can almost promise you it won't work, because 95% of if it's a lower priced algae, they grow them in India and China, and they cut corners to get it to market, because they're lower priced, so they have to sell more. And the main corner they cut is they use high heat to dry the algae. But unfortunately, this stuff called SOD is also an enzyme. And so enzymes are all deactivated at 114 Fahrenheit, whether you're boiling vegetables or drying algae. It's all the same thing. We've never used high heat to dry our algae, so our superoxide dismutase is intact and it works. You could also get raw spirulina or frozen spirulina, and they will work exactly the same as ours, because they have not been exposed to high heat. And that blue pigment that's also in spirulina that I mentioned earlier, that has been proven to kill cancer cells, it's also deactivated by high heat. So it's worth spending a little bit more money. I know we're a little higher priced, but you get full value, because if you get the cheaper stuff, I tell people it's like getting a great deal on a fabulous car, except you lift the hood and there's no engine. So it's not exactly a great deal after all, is it?
Wow. Okay, I want to talk about heart health for a second and SOD, because I feel like there's some correlation there. And then I also know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it also contains vitamin K2?
Yes. All right, and both K2 and SOD are critical for heart health. So let's talk about K2, because that's a nutrient most people aren't familiar with both of them. But here's the situation with K2. I think most people know what K is, K1, which is in any leafy plant, okay? Now, it's interesting because animals like cattle, they are able to eat leafy greens, with K1 in it, and they have an extra enzyme in their gut that allows them to convert this K1 into K2. Humans do not have that ability. So when we could eat a room full of K1 and you won't get a drop of K2. Now, up until the 60s, animals were grazing on pastures. And so when they ate the pasture greens and were converting the K1 and the greens to K2, and then when we ate the animal protein, if you ate animal protein at the time, we were getting K2 because it was in their flesh. Now, in the 70s, farmers realized, well, if we fed the cattle corn and put them into enclosures, we could get them fatter faster and make more money. So overnight, the supply of K2 disappeared from our diet because the only other place you can get K2 from, or at the time, was a dish called natto, which is a Japanese dish that most people don't like, or grass-fed animal protein. And what K2 does is it moves excess calcium out of places called soft tissue and into your bones. Where is your soft tissue? Well, it's your brain, it's your skin, it's all of your organs, it's your blood vessels. A lot of hardening of the arteries, arteriosclerosis. What's hardening is calcium. So when you take anything with K2 in it, you are starting to move, and a lot of brain disorders is from calcification. Kidney stones are calcification. Excess calcium damages your skin, just like free radicals do, because it damages the elastin, which is the structure that holds your skin up. So K2 is very important, and there's a daily requirement of K2 in chlorella, a little less in the spirulina. It will help clear out the plaque in your blood vessels. It will help lower your blood pressure. It will protect your heart. It will build your bones and your teeth. These are my own teeth, by the way. Somebody asked me that the other day. This is my own hair, and I don't do Botox. So K2 is very important, and it's very hard to find. You can now buy K2 supplements, however, which is good. However, they're made from fermented chickpeas. And K2 is a very complicated nutrient. There's all these different K1, K4, K7. Now, the kind called KM4 comes from grass-fed animal protein and from algae. And it is the only version of K2 that can penetrate the brain. Apparently, this version called K7, which comes from fermented chickpeas, is good for you, but it cannot penetrate the brain. So I just say, well, if you want your K2 to go everywhere, I would choose the one with the M4.
Well, I have a question too, or more so just a comment, because I know there's a lot of supplements on the market, but I think a lot of people may not realize that these supplements, not all, but a lot, are synthetic supplements.
Yeah.
And because these energy bits are a food, not really a supplement, these vitamins and nutrients are naturally in the chlorella and spirulina. It's not a synthetic form.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. And not only is it food, we're from nature and food is from nature. If it has one ingredient, it's from nature. So your body can recognize it, and the bioavailability of the nutrients, because I tell people it's not just what you eat, it's what you absorb. And a lot of people these days have compromised digestion, especially if IBS or Crohn's. So we need to get the nourishment absorbed. And this is the other reason why I love to encourage people to chew the algae tablets if they can get acclimatized to the taste, because you will be absorbing it sublingually within seconds. So the absorption rate is very, very high. Now, when you take, I didn't know this, but apparently most of the supplements companies, I was at a conference just over the weekend, it was BrainTap actually who hosted the conference. And someone from the pharmaceutical industry was on stage, and they said, you may not know this, but most supplements companies are owned by pharmaceuticals. And they specifically made the supplements with synthetics because they knew your body couldn't absorb them. So they knew they wouldn't help you much. So they knew that you would ultimately turn back to pharmaceuticals to mask the problems that you're having, which of course are never dealing with the core issue at heart. So there's stuff, they're made from artificial ingredients. They have fillers, there's synthetics, they're extracts. Your body can't recognize them. So you absorb about 10%, which is why the numbers are so high. If you noticed on your bottles, it says, well, like 5,000, required RDAs. And you'll notice that on the algae tablets, the quantities are much smaller, but they will all be absorbed. And Mother Nature, I can't take credit for algae, it's Mother Nature. I can take credit for growing it carefully to preserve all the nutrients and ensure there are no toxins.
That was going to be my next question, is how you grew it.
Yes. And so I just want to let you know, so when you take algae, Mother Nature has done all the work. She's got factors and cofactors, enzymes and coenzymes. Some supplements you need to take with food, some without food, some with citrus, some away from citrus. You don't have to worry about a thing when you take algae because it's all been done for you, and they all up level each other. I say when you take algae, it's like listening to an orchestra. And when you listen to an orchestra, the different instruments, they harmonize and they just make a fuller, richer sound that is so enjoyable. When you take a supplement, it's like listening to a grade 3 soloist, or maybe a bunch of them, and they're all playing different instruments and different music. Doesn't work very well. So anytime you eat food, and especially something like this that's so easily absorbed, you're getting way more than, it's 1 + 1 = 10. So even though the numbers are smaller, your 99% of it is getting into your body, and your body knows what to do with it. So let me get back to the growing. So growing algae isn't like growing broccoli. It's more like making wine. And one thing I'll point out, when you make wine, it's affected by the environment. It's affected by the angle of the sun. I occasionally like a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, and trust me, a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand tastes nothing like a Sauvignon Blanc from California or Italy. And part of it's the angle of the sun. And we grow our algae in Taiwan. There are only a few places that grow it carefully, and Taiwan is known for having the gold standard, and partly because of where it is located geographically. The angle of the sun, just for whatever reason, allows algae, and we grow it outdoors, to have the highest concentration of nutrition. So that's number one. Most of the other algae, by the way, virtually everything that's on the market comes from India and China. And they're contract manufacturers, and they just don't pay attention. This is all we grow. We do nothing else except algae. And most of those other supplements companies, if they're selling spirulina or chlorella, they may sell anywhere from 50 to 500 other supplements. So they're just not paying attention like we do. I've picked every single thing to do with our company.
And you're using the sun, the natural sun,
yes,
to grow it, not a synthetic light or lamp.
Correct. I'm old school. Mother Nature is my mentor, and she figured it out right. And you can't do any better than Mother Nature. So, but the most important thing was two more important things to know about. So I may have mentioned we grow it in fresh water. It's triple filtered spring mountain water. So very, very clean water, because algae will absorb whatever's in the water. This is why you never want algae that comes from the ocean or a lake, because you cannot keep mycotoxins out of those wild bodies of water. So we do a whole set of labs, and we never have mycotoxins because, of course, we don't have it in the water. But the most important thing is this thing about the way we dry it. We dry it without high heat. We shoot it into the air, never gets into that high temperature range. So all of the enzymes, all of the nutrients, all of the pigments are preserved. As soon as you add that higher heat, you deactivate those enzymes. And I won't name any names, but there's a lot of companies like green powders. They always boast about having spirulina and chlorella, but you have to use high heat to mix those powders. I'm sorry, but you're just not getting the full benefit that you would if you either had ours, which is raw, or the other option is frozen or fresh. But frozen or fresh, you can't avoid the taste. They expire quickly, and you can't really travel with them. With ours, the tablets, there's no aftertaste. There's no taste at all. There's no burping up like fish oil. By the way, this replaces fish oil, spirulina, because I tell people, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae, and it's just in their bodies. So save the fish, save the ocean, save yourself. Most fish oil goes rancid. shortly after you buy it. So it's inflammatory instead of being anti-inflammatory. Algae never goes rancid. In fact, it has a 3-year expiry date, and technically it never goes bad. So I have tried for 15 years to find something wrong with algae. Honestly, at 15 years of research, I've probably read 5,000 papers. The only thing wrong with algae is that people don't understand it. They don't, and not have, they haven't had access to a really clean, pure source. And so we only sell through our website, energybits.com, and we have a discount code for your listeners, or doctor's offices. We are the only algae endorsed by functional medicine, neuroscientists, neuroscientists.
This sounds like the best biohack.
It is absolutely, you could just use it as a hack yourself or stack it. Take it, the spirulina. We always suggest the spirulina before any other biohack, whether it's red light, cryo, cold plunge, massage, sauna, because it gets absorbed so quickly. So while you're in the treatment, it's going to work. And then you step out, and you could take 5, 10, 15, try to take 10 if you can. More is always better. And then take the chlorella afterwards. It's the cleanup crew. Because, I made the analogy, I don't have kids myself, but my 2 sisters did. And anyone with kids, when they get into the teenage years, they're in and out of their bedroom, and they're just throwing layers and layers of clothes on their bed. And soon you can't see the floor, you can't see the bed. And finally you put your foot down and say, you got to clean up your room. And that's when you find stuff that that's where that went, because finally the room is clean. Well, your cells go through the same way. If you're constantly eating, particularly carbs, if you're constantly stressed, if you're constantly over-exercising, your poor little cells are trying to keep up with everything, and they never get a chance to clean up. So this is why all these biohacks, the cold plunge, the cryo, any of these, even red light, they help your cell clean up. And so if you have spirulina in your cell while you're doing the cleanup, it's better. It works. It improves it. Same with intermittent fasting. I'm really big on intermittent fasting. This helps you get through intermittent fasting, spirulina in particular. It doesn't interfere with your fast. So while your cells are getting a bit of not quite a vacation, but the requirement for them to keep up on the ATP is reduced, and now they can clean up. But the cleanup has to go somewhere, so they get rid of what I call the junk in your trunk into it's called the systole. And then you want the chlorella to pull that out, because you don't want it to be reabsorbed and cause more damage. And so yeah, it's a fantastic hack. Dave Asprey and I are probably going to be aging well into our hundreds, because he's got every hack. He loves our algae. I've been on his podcast once.
Well, these are great. And you had mentioned you have a discount code. So if anyone is interested in trying these, what is the discount code and where can people find them?
Absolutely. The discount code is digest this, all one word.
Digest this, one word. Okay.
Yeah. And the website is energybits.com, ENERGYBITS. It works on, we have the best value are your large bags. So they have 1,000 tablets in them. And if you took 10 a day and used the discount code, listen to this, it will cost you $1 a day. This is your nutritional insurance. And same with the chlorella. Use the discount code, digest this, take 10 a day. It costs you $1 a day. It replaces all of your need for vegetables. And if you aren't eating vegetables, it'll give you the nourishment and none of the downside, none of the anti-nutrients, no lectins, no oxalates, no gas. I mean, no gas, that's a pretty big deal, certainly for me. Now, if you have a health condition, or if you want to up-level your benefits, then you get closer to the 20 or 30 a day. We do have them in small pouches that are already in 30 tablets a day to make it easy. They're terrific to travel with. I didn't even talk about EMFs, but chlorella is really important for helping your mitochondria protect itself from EMF, which is very damaging to your hemoglobin, which is blood. It's also damaging to your mitochondria. You can get protection from the EMFs when you take the algae. It's probably a whole nother podcast.
Wow. Yeah. We'll have to have you back for another podcast because I know a lot of people are concerned about EMFs and rightfully so. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to put your website in today's show notes. So if you guys go to today's show notes, you can just tap it with one easy click and then it'll take you right there. Catharine, you are just such a joy and a beam of light. So thank you so much for just sharing your knowledge and sharing what you discovered. And you're glowing, you look amazing. And I hope everyone can try these because I think everyone can find some kind of benefit.
Yes. And one final thing, it's good for every age of the family. Pets love them too. But the other final word is algae isn't new. It's just new to you. So just like you didn't know about chia or matcha or kiwa or bone broth, which have been used for centuries in other countries, same with algae. Just give it a try and see what happens. That's all.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To check out more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com, and to email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.
Are you looking to reclaim your health? Tune into the Real Foodology podcast hosted by me, Courtney Swan, integrative nutritionist and real food activist. I am on a mission to transform our food system by challenging the corrupt practices that undermine our health and replace them with choices that genuinely support our well-being. Listen to Real Foodology podcast on your favorite podcast app. New episodes every Tuesday.